The time is here. Instant reaction to the 49ers 53-man roster cut. 9 moves have already come in today. We're tracking them live, and the 49ers, within minutes, will be dropping their official list of cuts. So as soon as that happens, we're going to have all of the moves to get the 49ers under 53 men, or right at that 53-man limit. A lot of drama in the air right now. Folks wondering what the 49ers will do with Jawan Jennings. I predict that he's going to make the initial 53-man roster to provide the 49ers with potential flexibility to put him on IR with a designation to return, or with the ability to return as soon as tomorrow. Of course, we're also scouring the waiver wire across the league. For example, somebody like Malachi Corley of the New York Jets has been waived. Somebody like Jarrett Kingston, that name should sound familiar. Lineman who the 49ers waived last year has been waived by the Carolina Panthers. But to begin, let's go through what the 49ers have already done today. As you can see here, this is the roster. Left side of this is the 53-man projection that I've been updating throughout the course of the entire offseason. The right side of this is the 90-man, not even a projection, just a 90-man existence. So those are the players who I did not project to make the 53-man roster. Over the course of the past few hours, and even extending back into yesterday, we've seen names generally leave this side of the roster because, of course, we would hope that our projection is more or less correct. But there have been a couple names that have left the left side of this projection. Anyway, let's go through the players whom the 49ers have cut so far. I'm keeping a running list right here, starting with today's first news, and that was right here. I'll highlight it. Tariq Owens waived. That is the wide receiver, son of Terrell Owens. Dallas Flowers, cornerback, released. We can get further into that in just a second. I've already done a show covering that, though. Jeff Wilson Jr., running back, released. Stone Blanton, rookie linebacker, waived. Derek Canteen, he's been playing safety, but he was a cornerback before. A rookie who made the team through a tryout has been waived. Sebastian Valdez, the Hulk, has been waived. William Bradley King, defensive lineman, waived. Chaz Surratt, veteran linebacker, former quarterback in college, released. And Jalen Graham, linebacker, has now been waived by the 49ers a couple times. Remember, he went to the Commanders, then returned to the 49ers. He's been waived. All of these players are potential candidates for the 49ers practice squad. San Francisco has now executed a total of 15 roster moves to free up spots since yesterday when they began at 90 men. They have 22 moves to go. The reason that this is exciting, the way that we're doing this right here with instant reaction, is because the vast majority of moves still have to happen. And we will be live when the 49ers do make those moves. So we can go through the ones the 49ers have made so far. If we're talking about maybe the most surprising one to some people, it would be the release of cornerback Dallas Flowers. And I think that we got our first hints of this during the preseason game against the Chargers on Saturday. It was the cornerback complication that I actually wrote about up on the San Francisco Standard. You could read it here. I wrote this before the roster cut down, before the 49ers cut Flowers. This was in my final 49ers roster projection. One of the interesting twists of Saturday's finale came in the secondary when Chase Lucas, who started nickelback over the first 2 preseason games, played exclusively at outside cornerback. This was a new position for Lucas. Perhaps the opportunity can be interpreted as a test from the 49ers, who wanted to see if he was capable of being the team's 4th outside cornerback. Dallas Flowers and Darrell Luter Jr. have battled for the number 3 spot over the past month. It seems possible that both make the 53, but if the 49ers believe in Lucas's fill-in ability for the outside, it stands to reason that they can get away with rostering only one of either Dallas Flowers or Darrell Luter Jr. Well, that was written yesterday. Guess what happened? The 49ers have decided they're going to only roster one of either Dallas Flowers or Darrell Luter Jr. Now, we're going to wait to make sure that Luter is also rostered, but the news so far, the early leak so far, is that only Flowers has been released. Luter's still on his rookie contract, so he's got 2 more years of team control left. 49ers would have to waive him if they decided to cut him. But in all likelihood, what I wrote there ended up being answered affirmatively by Chase Lucas. And Chase Lucas I have right here, as you can see, is the 49ers backup nickelback to Upton Stout. Darrell Luter Jr. is backup cornerback number 1. And we've already made the change here. Dallas Flowers is on the 49ers cut list. So backup cornerback number 2 would be Chase Lucas. Backup cornerback number 3 on the 53-man roster would be Saron Neal, who is essentially a special teams ace with cornerback adaptability. He's played on the outside over the course of training camp for the 49ers. Now, if they can bring back a Dallas Flowers onto the practice squad, I'm sure the 49ers would be all about it. But Flowers doesn't even have to clear waivers because he was outright released. This is a veteran. Came off the Achilles tear that he suffered with Indianapolis, was trying to work his way back. I thought played well over the course of training camp for the 49ers, but it was neck and neck with Luter, and the 49ers went for 2 years of team control versus 1, and they ended up not carrying both of those cornerbacks, assuming Luter makes this cut. That's what's dramatic about this. Something that I say right now may not be appropriate anymore in a few minutes because it won't fit the 49ers actual moves. But that's the challenge of analyzing everything here in real time for you. It is 12:57 p.m. Pacific time. In 3 minutes, the cut down is official. By 3 minutes from now, all teams must have submitted their list of cuts, and it's going to have to be a total of 37 cuts unless some teams made a few earlier, and the 49ers did make a few earlier. The 49ers had 31 to make entering today. Once those cuts are submitted, the 49ers will issue a press release, and that press release will give us the rest of this roster puzzle. If you want to see the Tetris game, the puzzle itself, it is right here up on the screen for you. The 49ers are trying to narrow this down to 53. They currently have it down to 75, which means that they have 22 moves to go. I've got the counter down here. Now, we do expect some of these moves to be transfers over to the PUP/NFI lists for the regular season. Curtis Rourke, Brandon Ayuk, Malik Mustafa, barring a very surprise activation. Maybe that'll be a shocker. We do expect a couple return from injured reserve designations. I would predict the return from IR designations would go to Kevin Gibbons and Jacob Cowing. I would also predict that Yetur Gross-Matos is transferred over to that regular season PUP list. All of those moves will free up roster spots because the injury lists during the regular season do not count against active roster. In the offseason, all injury lists except for injured reserve do count against active roster. So the 49ers are going to have to be very, very careful, especially with some of these IR positionings, because you only have a finite amount of returns and you only have a finite amount of designations for injured reserve that are eligible to return in the 2025 season. 2 of them to be exact, but again, with Juwan Jennings and with others, they can also run a roster trick. By that, I mean, you can roster him on the 53 in less than a minute. It's 12:59, and then you can move him to injured reserve the day later. So you can actually buy yourself some time. You could scramble out of the pocket. You could be like Brock Purdy, running around back there waiting for Brandon Ayuk to get open against Jacksonville or against Washington. You know, all those great 2023 connections. All right, it is 1 p.m. At any moment now, we're going to get the email from the 49ers. And maybe it will take a few minutes. I'm just warning you. While we wait, and Mike is here letting me know of this coming in. Mike is scanning Twitter right now. I'm waiting by the email. We have some leaks through agents. The 49ers have made 14 total cuts. They have made 9 today. They have 22 transactions to go. We can firmly identify probably, I would say, 6 of those, Yeah, I would say 6 of those to injury lists, although they're not going to be official until the 49ers make them. So that would mean 16 cuts to go outside of injury lists for the 49ers to get this roster from its current spot, 75 men, to 53. So it is official now. It just hasn't been announced. So we wait. This is like, we're waiting for Apollo 13 to come back in from the loss of radio contact. Right now, we don't have radio contact with the 49ers. Hopefully soon, we're going to have radio contact from the 49ers, and we'll know the initial 53-man roster. Now, I say initial because this is going to be, in a way, outdated even 24 hours from now. There's been several players around the league in whom the 49ers will probably have interest waived today. I could start with Isaiah Foskey, the defensive end from the Saints, Laviska Shenault, former wide receiver of the Bills. The Bucs waived Trey Palmer, wide receiver. The Chiefs waived their tackle, Essa Pohl. The Jets waived Malachi Corley, and the Panthers waived Jarrett Kingston. That is just a small smattering, an example of some of the players let go. In fact, across the entire league, you've got about 1,200 players who have been cut as part of this cut down, either released, that means they can re-sign elsewhere immediately, or waived, exposed to the waiver wire, where the 49ers are going to have the 11th selection. They're at number 11, not at number 31 this year. So San Francisco actually in good position on that front. Other news around the league is that the Saints named Spencer Rattler their starting quarterback. The Saints open against Arizona in week 1, but in week 2, the 49ers head to New Orleans. So if Rattler is still the starting quarterback in week 2, it's going to be San Francisco against him when they do take on the Saints. It's funny that the Saints made that announcement on cutdown day, but I guess it makes sense, right? Teams, there's a deadline to start firming up the roster, start determining some important things on this day. Everyone who's still waiting, like me, for this cutdown news, it's going to happen at any minute. We're waiting for the 49ers to drop it. Make sure that you head on over to the San Francisco Standard. Mike, can you toss this into the description and also keep an eye on Twitter for me, please? That would be very, very much appreciated. There you go. I have the link that's sent to Mike. I'm going to toss this into the description, and I'm showing you the article up on the screen. This is my 4 most difficult 49ers roster decisions article that came out yesterday. I covered one of them that we already saw happen with Dallas Flowers and Darrell Luter Jr. and Chase Lucas. We have word that there's been a release on that front. And now then I guess I covered another one of them, was Sebastian Valdez, waived by the 49ers. Now there's a big debate right now that's happening amongst the interwebs of the 49ers. Will Sebastian Valdez clear waivers? The truth is that nobody knows for sure. All it takes is one team to say, hey, we're going to put in a claim on this guy. But also teams have to know that they have the roster room to absorb somebody onto their 53-man if they do put in a claim. And I would argue that you just need to remember that in general, there is a surplus of defensive linemen right now around the league, capable ones at least, and a relative dearth, a relative deficit of offensive linemen. So when you've got those two dynamics at play, defensive linemen are more likely to clear through waivers than offensive linemen. And we don't know who's going to be back on the 49ers practice squad tomorrow. That's part of what makes the next 24 hours so interesting, because we have to see what other teams think of the 49ers roster. But a lot of fans disappointed that the 49ers waived Sebastian Valdez. That was likelier to happen than not. You just have to deal with reality there, and we'll see if the 49ers are able to get him back on the practice squad. We got a couple more. This is from Matt Barrows. The 49ers have released Curtis Robinson. Now, this one surprises me. Curtis Robinson really surprises me. I thought that he was in on that 53-man roster projection for the 49ers. So we've got to go back to the actual projection now and make this change So we're doing this stuff in real time at this point. This is the 49ers' 10th cut of the day. Curtis Robinson coming off the ACL tear, had the pick six. It was a very feel-good story. And it appears that the 49ers are only going to take 5 linebackers. This might be a maneuver that allows San Francisco to carry somebody like Drew Moss. They might be carrying an extra offensive lineman. So here we go. We zoom in and we see Curtis Robinson's name. We're going to remove Curtis Robinson's name from the linebacker group. You've got Warner, you got Winters, you've got Gifford, you've got Tatum Bethune, and you've got Nick Martin. I would say that those 5 are safe to make this roster. They've cut Chaz Surratt. They've cut Curtis Robinson. They've cut Jalen Graham. They've cut Stone Blanton. I expected all those guys to be cut except for Robinson. I thought his special teams ability, and I thought that, just the 49ers chance on Nick Martin here. He's a raw player who's still developing. I thought that having Robinson back up that room might be something that the 49ers do, but it looks like they'll take their chances with an ability to bring him back to the practice squad. Now, that being said, I've got to say this about Curtis Robinson. That being said, there also is a chance that he, as a vested veteran, is someone who the 49ers bring back tomorrow after an IR placement. So somebody like Jawan Jennings, say that you put him on IR. You're going to carry him on the initial 53, but if Jennings goes to IR or if somebody else goes to IR tomorrow so they can come back, the 49ers can have a wink-wink arrangement with Curtis Robinson to bring him back on the team. So that's why these rosters, this first cut down is never something that's final and it's like, oh my God, what are they doing? We have to evaluate all the 49ers strategic possibilities. So yes, there is a chance they want to bring back Curtis Robinson to the practice squad and they're just releasing him for that. But there's also a chance that the 49ers will re-sign him to the 53-man roster tomorrow after placing somebody on injured reserve. For the time being, though, we've got to do our housekeeping and we've got to get Curtis Robinson on the cut list. Remember that the 49ers make at least 1 or 2 of these moves every year where they do bring a guy back the very next day. This is just the very initial roster. So this is not the final roster. And even tomorrow's roster will not be the final one. And even the roster in week 1 will not be the final one. This right here, this document that you see, it is a living, breathing entity throughout the course of the entire NFL season. So we have to approach every single one of these 49ers moves with context. Right here, the 49ers have released Russell Gage. Matt Mayoko says they've released Russell Gage. He looks to be a strong candidate to return to the practice squad and could see some game action. Or Gage could be re-signed to the 53-man roster tomorrow after an IR move. Again, like Jawan Jennings. So everybody's going to ask, is this surprising? And I'll say, well, yeah, we have these guys on the 53-man roster. So in a way, it's mildly surprising, but there could be a roster maneuver that the 49ers are doing that brings Gage back. And as Matt pointed out, he can also potentially be flexed up early in the season from the practice squad. Russell Gage is a really good story. Torn patellar tendon a couple years ago, hadn't played an NFL game in 2 years. 49ers scooped him up to the practice squad to close 2024. He worked behind the scenes to get back in shape and then delivered a good training camp to the point where he is expected to contribute to the 49ers early this season. This is not the last you've heard of Russell Gage. I can almost guarantee that you'll hear of a re-signing either to the 53 or to the practice squad tomorrow. He does not have to clear waivers as he is a vested veteran. So the 49ers could have an arrangement with Russell Gage in place already. So that's another move. The 49ers now have 20 moves to go. 17 total roster spots have been freed up since they began work on this cut down yesterday. Gage, again, does not have to clear waivers. He's been in the league for a while. This is a guy that was 750 receiving yards for 2 straight seasons with the Atlanta Falcons. He's a legit number 3, or at least he was back when he was healthy. Now Russell Gage is working to get healthy again. And I think that he's shown that over the course of training camp that he's back to his old speed, or at least close to his old speed. He made a lot of catches, and that's why Russell Gage has earned a role on the 49ers early this season. So people should not get confused when they see that Russell Gage has been released. It's because the 49ers are probably operating a roster machination. And this is why we have this sheet. This is why I delve into the strategy. This is why we don't overreact in knee-jerk fashion to moves, because everything that the 49ers do strategically right now is going to be revisited tomorrow once the waiver wire clears and once they have the exact amount of spots available on their roster and on their practice squad to bring some of these players back. And Russell Gage is definitely a candidate for one of those maneuvers. As Shannon said, Gage cannot be poached. I mean, theoretically, he could sign with somebody else if they offered him a lot of money, but let's be real. The 49ers and Gage have discussed this move ahead of time, and this is something that doesn't hurt Gage and it doesn't hurt the 49ers, and we'll see what happens once tomorrow is all settled. I would say 53 is still a possibility because we're not exactly sure what's going to happen with Jawan Jennings. An email has come in, but it's not from the 49ers. I'm going to go to my WhatsApp to see what Mike is saying. Mike is saying maybe the 49ers will sign a wide receiver. It's possible. Maybe they'll claim a wide receiver too. Remember, if you're going to claim somebody like Malachi Corley off of waivers, you need to have a roster spot for him. So the 49ers could be clearing the deck here to be able to absorb some of the players for whom they're putting in claims. This is an extremely interesting 24 hours. Like, I wasn't lying about this when I was hyping up this 24 hours. You're playing like it's on Tetris, Legos, whatever you want to call it, but you're having to fit pieces in and you're getting new materials from the outside. You're not quite sure if some of those new materials will be shipped to you, but you've got a decent chance at number 11 in the waiver claim order. You also have variables like DeMarcus Robinson and Jawan Jennings that are a little bit more uncertain. The league has not formally issued its suspension notice for DeMarcus Robinson, even though we know he's going to be suspended, probably because the appeals process is ongoing. So we're almost sure that DeMarcus Robinson is going to be on the 49ers initial 53-man roster. And then at some point, he's going to be moved to the suspended list. So you got to account for that. You have to account for Jawan Jennings. You're obviously not going to put him on season-ending IR, so you have to make the necessary machinations to make that all possible. I mean, the strategy happening right now at all levels is absolutely fascinating. And now, I mean, we're just sitting here waiting on pins and needles for the 49ers to give us the release that will answer the final 20 or so questions that we have about this 53-man roster. Never before has there been 49ers news delivered in more epic real time than this. We've changed the game on YouTube. I kind of love it. I think that this is the way that we need to operate. Oh boy, we got some breaking news. This is coming from Matt Mayoko. Good job on this, Matt. You guys ready? You guys ready? Are you ready for this? People are going to love this, and it's been building up to this. I talked about it's a possibility. I said it a few minutes ago based on some of the 53-man cuts that weren't necessarily expected. But the 49ers, drum roll, Drew Moss has made the team. Drew Moss has made the initial 49ers 53-man roster. What does this mean? Well, it means that he impressed enough for the 49ers to carve out extra room along the offensive line. This is courtesy Matt Mayoko. Drew Moss has made the team, so we can go ahead and take Drew Moss's name over here on the right side and move it in to... I'm going to put him as a third stringer for now. Actually, let's put Nick Zakelj as the backup center. Let's do that. And we can make Drew Moss a second stringer over here at left guard. Congratulations to the undrafted rookie out of Colorado State. To help contextualize what has happened here, the 49ers normally take 8 offensive linemen. It looks like they're taking 9 to fit Drew Moss, because you have to have a backup center, and Moss hasn't played any center yet. He projects as a center. He could develop there, but they needed to take Nick Zakelj. They obviously were going to take Connor Colby. He's already been starting games for them. They obviously were going to take Spencer Burford. I mean, who knows? They might take 10 offensive linemen if they need a right tackle. We'll get to that in a second. But this looks like it's going to be 9 on the 49ers' initial 53-man roster. It has now been announced that Demarcus Robinson has been suspended for 3 games by the league. I believe since that's been announced, the 49ers will be able to put Demarcus Robinson on the suspended list and maybe not take up a 53-man roster spot. The news comes from Ian Rappaport about 15 minutes after the 1 p.m. deadline, but I'm assuming the league handed down the suspension before 1 o'clock. We will confirm once we have the actual email here from the 49ers. We're still waiting as we go through this instant reaction, but I think a lot of people might be happy that Drew Moss has made the 49ers team. That is according to Matt Mayoko. According to Eric Branch, Jake Tonjes has made the 49ers 53-man roster. I do wonder if this means that they take 4 tight ends. We will also see what Braden Willis's health status is. We know that he left the game with an injury on Saturday, but an update to look at this roster. This is the tight end room. Kittle, Farrell, Tonjes for sure, according to Eric Branch. And now Braden Willis is the one question mark. I have him shaded in pink here because Braden was hurt on Saturday. So I'm not sure about the severity, and we haven't talked to Kyle Shanahan since they've done a further evaluation there. So still waiting on the Braden Willis finalization of this 53-man roster. So now we're starting to get news of guys making the team instead of just cuts. And Drew Moss has made it. So yes on Moss, no on Valdez. What I told Mike is that it was always more likely that the 49ers would take Moss than Valdez because there is a relative shortage of offensive linemen versus defensive linemen where there is a glut. There are a lot of defensive. It's just how the league works right now. Defensive line play is head of O-line play for that reason. I'm talking about quality bodies at both positions. So you're more likely to be able to clear a defensive lineman through waivers than you are an offensive lineman. And I think the 49ers subscribed to that theory. They didn't want to lose Drew Moss. He showed them enough promise that he forced his way onto this 53-man roster. So for the 49ers, it was never a question of Zakelj or Drew Moss. It was both. Let's take Zakelj to be the backup center now and Drew Moss to be somebody who can help this team out in the future. He's going to continue to develop. In fact, he might project as a center at this NFL level. I'm going to read you a little bit from Chris Furster on Drew Moss. First, though, I'm going to go and retweet this Moss news from Matt Mayoko. Drew Moss. This is you guys getting to watch me work a little bit through here. Drew Moss forces his way on. It looks here. I gotta sit up here and get closer to the keyboard. It looks like the 49ers cleared space elsewhere to take the unusual measure of carrying 9 OL instead of just 8 to fit him and continue his development. Boom. Big news. Time for me to drink a little bit of water. Then let me read to you about Drew Moss. I dug up a Chris Furster quote yesterday. This is from my article up on the San Francisco Standard. The link is in the description. And I am getting the quote right here. Boom, we have it. Let's read about Drew Moss from the 49ers offensive line coach. This came at the beginning of the month from Drew Moss. He's very, very strong. He gets his hands on people. He really does handle them. He's not overmatched at all. He's got good quickness. He doesn't have great range. You know, he's not a long guy. He's not long levered, things like that. So sometimes as a guard, you can get in some trouble. He's going to play center, which isn't something he's done a lot of. It's really hard in this offense, what we do, all the movements, the shifts and everything. It takes some guys to get a hold of that. The physical traits lead to someone I think has a future at center and possibly guard. So, and this matched our scouting report on Drew Moss coming out of college at Colorado State. We thought, okay, center at the NFL level, just given the fact he's got those shorter 32-inch arms. And, you know, the center position, that's tricky, though, because it is so cerebrally taxing. Like, if you listen to my interview with John Feliciano a few days ago, he said Jake Brendel's in hell there, going through all the center calls and identifying the rotations of the safeties and setting the protections for the 49ers. It's a very, very tough job in Shanahan's system. So you see them typically open up with rookies at guard, and Moss has played right guard and left guard over the course of preseason and training camp, and they have to get that down before they're able to start absorbing the center terminology. Well, the problem is the 49ers have needed a backup center in case Brendel goes down during one of these games. That's Nick Zakelj or Matt Hennessy. We'll see what the official 49ers move is once these roster moves do come out. And Drew Moss, because he hadn't played center at the NFL level yet, just doesn't really qualify for that particular role. So the logjam that it appeared was coming from a few miles away was that the 49ers might have to take Nick Zakelj on this roster instead of a Drew Moss just to be able to get through games on Sunday, because you can't enter a Sunday without a backup center, a legitimate backup center option on the roster. What the 49ers have done here is they forced Moss onto this team. Okay. We'll see what the backup center plan is. I'm guessing it's going to be Zakelj. Maybe it'll be a surprise and it'll be Hennessy. But they still have to have that backup center option. If they don't, well, they could theoretically go to the practice squad and have a practice squad player elevated for week one. But then, you know, you only have 3 of those elevations per player. So you'd run out of those elevations after 3 weeks. You could handle it on a week-by-week basis, but it would just be very, very unusual. But the bottom line is that Drew Moss has made the team. His development can continue with the 49ers, and we can continue with our news, our instant reaction to the 49ers 53-man roster cut. Still nothing from San Francisco. It's 1:23. It's 23 minutes after the deadline for cuts. They just haven't announced it yet, but I have more news. This one's from Eric Branch. This is Bruce Hector. The 49ers have released Bruce Hector, defensive tackle. This was expected. Bruce Hector had been with San Francisco for a few weeks to help their defensive line. He had been with Robert Saleh and the New York Jets prior to that. So we're going to erase Bruce Hector. He is a vested veteran. He's been around the league for a little bit, and it's really thinning out here on the non-53 side, as you could see. A few more moves the 49ers have to make, but Bruce Hector is now on the list. Credit to Eric Branch. Bruce Hector released. Now we can move down. The 49ers have now made 17 total cuts since yesterday. 1 IR placement. That was Isaiah Prince. They've freed up 18 total spots. They need to free up a total of 37 to get to 53. So we are about halfway there. We can play the Journey song. 19 moves to go. 18 down, 19 to go on this 49ers 53-man roster. Over 3,000 of you in the room. I believe, is this a record, Mike? Let's get it to 4,000 just in case it's not. Screw it. Like, let's get this all the way up to 4K. If you are here for the first time, you need to hit the notification bell. You need to hit the like button and a membership for the channel. You get film reviews, you get videos exclusively first on the channel, and you could support all the work that we're doing. Right now, we've got so many people on the roster spreadsheet that Google is telling me I may not be able to make changes as quickly because there's so many people checking this out online. Oh, well, we're also, you can also view it through here if you're having trouble logging onto the roster spreadsheet as we update it in real time. Mike said it might be a record. I'm not sure where we were after the NFC Championship game or after the Packers game in the 2023 playoffs. And the Super Bowl was probably big too, although depressing for a lot of 49ers fans. So I'm not sure if everybody was online at the time, but over 3,000 people for a roster cut down is certifiably wild. I love what we built here. I thank you all for joining along. We get really analytical, very deep with our 49ers coverage. I write for the San Francisco Standard, where I'm able to deliver pieces like this that, proud to say that we were talking about all these potential machinations yesterday up on the Standard and up on this channel already. So you should definitely subscribe there to support. You're going to get the most in-depth 49ers coverage there is, bar none. William Floyd, bar none. The most in-depth 49ers coverage there is through the Standard, and obviously hit the subscribe button on this YouTube channel. We really do enjoy everyone digesting all of this content. I can give a recap as we continue to wait for the 49ers. I mean, this is typically come around 1 o'clock, guys. It's already 1:26. So we can give a recap of whom the 49ers have cut so far. This is up on the sheet. And that's linked on my Twitter, although it's so crowded right now up on the sheet that I'm not really sure if you'll be able to get on there. But these are the cuts. 18 of them have happened. We're about halfway there. Bradley, Mordecai, Shaquille Brown, Keyshawn Vaughn, Jalen Allen, Tariq Owens, Dallas Flowers, maybe a mild surprise, but the Chase Lucas emergence, I think, made that possible for the 49ers. I think they'll keep Darrell Luter Jr. instead, but we're going to have to wait on that front for confirmation. Jeff Wilson Jr., Stone Blanton, the rookie linebacker out of Mississippi State, Derek Canteen, another rookie defensive back who actually made this team via a tryout. Sebastian Valdez, the Hulk, we will see if he clears waivers, and the 49ers might be able to bring him back to the practice squad. William Bradley King, Chaz Surratt, Jalen Graham, Curtis Robinson, Russell Gage, and Bruce Hector. Those have been the 49ers cuts so far as we wait for the news to drop. 37 minutes into this thing. We're waiting for the news to drop. The 49ers, they're not doing us any favors, but good thing is I could talk to a wall about the 49ers all day. The Dallas Flowers cut, I would say so far, and the Curtis Robinson cut are the two that should generate the most discussion. It is always possible that the 49ers bring back one of these two guys or both of them tomorrow to their 53-man roster because both are vested veterans. So these roster machinations happen every year. I know that we didn't mention it specifically for Curtis Robinson. And I know we didn't mention it for Dallas Flowers, but we did mention it for Curtis Robinson. We should be waiting on our toes for subsequent connected moves to happen, especially with vested veterans who've been released and who are not exposed to waivers on the next day. I'm going to open this up to some questions. We're 37 minutes into this thing. Now, 38 minutes into this thing. I'm going to put on the fan, too, really fast. I'm going to put this roster up here for you guys. Just give me a second. It's a little warm in here. All right, the fan has been activated. And I am firing off a message. And I will be back on screen in 3, 2, and 1. Good. It's a lot cooler now. It had gotten a little warm. When you're talking for 40 minutes straight about a roster cut down, you do risk overheating. And I think it's about where we are right now. Some of the Rams cuts have come through. Cody Schrader, Chris Paul, the linebacker, Chris Pooh Paul. Remember that? Trimmed from the Rams roster. 49ers picked Nick Martin, who's going to make this football team. Seems like the 49ers might have picked the better linebacker there, but that obviously is It's going to be a lot of time, I think, before we could make final judgments on much of this 2025 rookie class. Nick Martin coming along quite well for the 49ers over the course of the preseason. I mean, the quality of play skyrocketed for him compared to where he was week 1 to where he is now. You go to this, looking at the 49ers 53, it looks to me like it's going to be 5 linebackers, maybe Curtis Robinson if they bring him back tomorrow. But for now, they got 5 in the room. Nick Martin's going to be one of them. They don't want to terminate that rookie contract. Tatum Bethune, been playing well. Tatum came back to practice yesterday. I should actually remove the injury shading from his name. In the sake of accuracy, let's get this off of Tatum Bethune's name. There we go. So you got 5 healthy linebackers if you're the 49ers. We expect Gibbons and Gross Matos in that defensive line room to head to injury lists shortly once that news is official. We expect Upton Stout back at practice soon in the secondary. And unless there's a shocking activation, I would expect Malik Mustafa to be on the PUP list in the regular season, to start the regular season. Whoa! All right, so they waived Nick Zakelj. So I wonder if it's going to be Matt Hennessy. This is from is that Nick Wagner? Yeah, this is from Nick Wagner. So either the 49ers are going to carry Matt Hennessy on the 53 as the backup center, or they're going to try a practice squad maneuver with Zakelj and Hennessy on to have that backup center spot accounted for. This is really, really interesting. So Zakelj waived, according to Wagner. Drew Moss makes the team, according to Matt Mayoko. We're going to make the necessary adjustments here on our roster. 49ers, no Zakelj. We can erase him there. He goes to waivers because he is still on the final year of his rookie contract. We can put Zakelj's name in right there. And the 49ers have dropped the roster moves. Alert, alert, alert. The 49ers roster moves are here. Okay, so we're going to work on Twitter now. I'm going to go through all of them at once. And I've got to also put the full sheet up. So what we're going to do is, wow, there are a lot here from the 49ers. But I think that we can handle this on one screen. All right, we've got that here. It's going to go up on Twitter here. Getting the screenshot. All of the 49ers moves are official. Okay, so all of the 49ers moves are official. Everybody should now be sitting down for what we have been anticipating for the past 43 minutes live and for a lot longer before then. We can begin now with the 49ers 53-man roster analysis. So and I'm going to open up this right here. And I'm going to be going through this player by player. Some of the moves we've already accounted for, but some we haven't. And within a couple minutes, we're going to have the entire 53-man roster accounted for. The following players have been released. Okay, Robbie Chosen. We didn't have him yet, but that's not surprising. He might be back tomorrow. So we're going to put Robbie Chosen release for the 49ers. Then we move down. Michael Dunn. This was an offensive lineman they brought in just for a few days. That was also expected. Michael Dunn, he was on the right side of the line. He is released. So we're going to put Michael Dunn over here. By the way, I don't see Juwan Jennings' name on this, which means that Juwan is very likely, certainly on the 53 for right now, but they very likely are buying some more time in that situation. If there's an IR placement, it could happen tomorrow. We did not expect it to happen today. Thomas Morstead is one of the 49ers releases. That's funny, but that's going to be a guy they definitely bring back. Russell Gage. Okay, we have Russell Gage. Jonathan Garvin. We expected this one as well. Defensive end. He's a release. Remember, all these releases are guys who are vested veterans, so they can come back to the practice squad immediately, essentially, for the 49ers because they don't have to clear waivers. Trevis Gibson. Thought there might be a shot on the outside for him to make the team. Impressed from the very start, but it was still a longer shot. And Trevis Gibson has also been released. Bruce Hector, we have him. Isaiah Hodgins, the veteran wide receiver. Not surprising here. Isaiah Hodgins released for the 49ers. So we're going to take off Trevis Gibson. Boom. We're going to take off Isaiah Hodgins. Boom. And we're going to move down to Fabian Moreau, the 32-year-old cornerback. Also not a surprise. He is released. Let's put Fabian Moreau on our list. Okay, now we are on Thomas Morstead. Now, Morstead's almost certainly going to be back, the punter. Don't think that this means the 49ers are looking for a new punter. This is Brant Boyer's guy. What's happening here, and I'm going to pop back on the camera here in a second as soon as I release Thomas Morstead from this roster. You saw his name down there. I just took his name off of here. What's happening here is that the 49ers are going to bring Thomas Morstead in all likelihood back tomorrow, and that allows them more flexibility now. They can have a deal with Thomas Morstead saying, hey, we're going to re-sign you tomorrow. Like, that's just how you see it happen around the entire NFL. Usually you do that so you can carry an injured player and then put him on injured reserve so that injured player has the ability to return to the team in 2024 after missing only 4 games, or in 2025 after missing only 4 games. So that is fairly standard operating procedure that might confuse some people right now. All right, I'm continue to go down the list. Curtis Robinson, we already removed him. Chaz Surratt, we removed him. Malik Turner had a nice game, but he's also been released. Several catches against the Chargers. So we'll put Malik Turner on this list. And Jeff Wilson Jr., we already had him. Now we go to the waves. Who did the 49ers waive? Well, Junior Bergen is one of the players that the 49ers have waived. So Junior Bergen is going to be up here. Where is he? This was expected, especially after they traded for Sky Moore. So we'll see if they still want Junior Bergen on that practice squad if he does clear waivers to develop him as a returner, or at least have another returner in the bullpen, so to speak. Stone Blanton, we've got Stone on the list already. William Bradley King, we've got him on the list already. Derek Canteen, Dallas Flowers. I guess Dallas Flowers was a waiver, not a release. Whoever initially reported that had it wrong. So Dallas Flowers we have as a waive and not a release, which would mean he has to clear waivers. So it's not likely that they're doing a maneuver with Dallas Flowers, if that's the case. Jalen Graham, have him on the list as well. Jalen Mahoney, all right, the safety. We can put Jalen in on there. That is a waive. Let's go back up here and remove Mahoney from the right side of the roster. Drake Nugent, the center. That was also expected. We can put Drake down on this list. Tariq Owens, we've already reported Tariq. Sebastian Valdez, we've already reported that. And they have waived Braden Willis. So Tonjes makes the team over Willis. Only 3 tight ends to begin for the 49ers. Putting Braden Willis in on this list down here. Nick Zakel, obviously one of them as well. And this is your list of 49ers cuts, either waves or releases. Now, there are some big injury moves as well. The biggest is that the 49ers have actually activated a player from PUP. They have activated Yetur Gross-Matos. This is big news for San Francisco because there had been a question about this. In fact, it seemed to be trending toward Yetur not being activated from PUP. It had been trending toward Yetur actually staying on PUP and the 49ers needing another body to replace him along the defensive line. This is actually one of the more low-key valuable defensive linemen that the 49ers have. But they have activated him. We can reset we could say that he's healthy now, or maybe he's not healthy, but he's definitely not on the PUP list. We can remove the asterisk from his name. We're not going to put him on PUP NFI. He's going to count against the 53. This is somebody who can help shepherd Michael Williams along. He's a defensive end with adaptability to play on the inside. So Yetur doesn't go to PUP, will not have to miss the first 4 games of the season. Then there is the injured reserve designation for return. The 49ers have only used one of their IR designation for returns. They're using it on Kevin Givens as expected. So here we go. Kevin Givens, as expected, will be an IR designation for return. If we want to illustrate how that's going to work, we're going to put him on cutdown IR right here. That's the defensive tackle with the pectoral injury. We can erase him from the 53-man roster here. And that obviously frees up a spot. Another move that the 49ers have made is Jacob Robinson has gone on injured reserve, not with a designation to return, though. They're not using one of those on Robinson. So they're going to have to reach an injury settlement with him if he's going to play again in this 2025 season. So that is 32 of 37 roster spots cleared up for the 49ers. Got to center this. Going to be a little particular about that. All right. More moves here for San Francisco. I'm just going through the whole list. PUP in the regular season, the transfers from the offseason PUP, the only way you could stay on PUP right now is if you've already been on PUP, if you haven't practiced yet. Brandon Ayuk and Malik Mustafa. Not sure why that bolded on us, but we can unbold it. We can center it. Both of those guys can now be removed from the 53-man roster. They're safely still aboard. They will miss at least the first 4 weeks of the regular season. So Ayuk, Mustafa, both off of the PUP list. Now we've got a little bit more. I'm guessing NFI. Yes, NFI for Curtis Rourke. Same thing, except he got hurt during college, not on an NFL field. So we remove Curtis Rourke from the 53 or from the 90-man projection, and we put him on the NFI list right here. Also must be out for the first 4 weeks as he continues to recover from an ACL, just like these other 2 players. And then we have the suspended list. So yes, the 49ers were able to place DeMarcus Robinson on the suspended list. We have him listed here. We can now take DeMarcus Robinson off of the 53-man roster. Isaac Alarcon also on the suspended list. We can take him off of the 53-man roster. So it appears that Austin Pleasance, as you can see here, the last men standing on the right side of this projection, that they have not been part of roster cuts. It appears the 49ers have taken both Matt Hennessy and Austin Pleasance on this football team. As you can see here, now we will make the ceremonial additions of Matt Hennessy and Austin Pleasance to the 49ers 53-man roster. We'll put Hennessy in as a backup to Jake Brendel. He beats out Nick Zakelj. I told you the 49ers would need a backup center. That's who it is in Matt Hennessy. And they needed a backup right tackle as well. So they have Austin Pleasance behind Colton McKivitz. That finalizes it. This now is your 49ers. As you can see here, 53 is the count. This is your official, I present to you, your official 49ers 53-man roster. Boom. This is it. 3,700 of you watching. That is the 53-man roster. This is the heaviest the 49ers have ever gone on the offensive line. And that is going to be my tweet. That's what we have to get up there. The 49ers carrying 10 offensive linemen. This is the heaviest they've ever gone on the OL. Hennessy for backup center, and Pleasance for backup right tackle. Both needed positions. Boom. So going through this, the final 50, or not the final, the initial 53-man roster. Let's go through this position group by position group. Purdy, Jones, 2 quarterbacks. The 49ers have taken 2 QBs. Running back room, they have taken 5 of these guys, including Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback. McCaffrey, Robinson, Garendo, Jordan James, and then Kyle Juszczyk. That was expected in the 49ers running back room, despite that little bit of a interesting comment about Jeff Wilson Jr. from Kyle Shanahan. Then there's the receiver room. Officially in the receiver room, the 49ers have Jennings, Watkins, Pearsall, Jacob Cowing. So they might think that Jacob Cowing is going to be back sooner, which is why they didn't put him on an injury list, and Sky Moore. So that's 5 wide receivers for San Francisco. Offensive line, or first tight end room, 3 tight ends. Kittle, Farrell, Tonjes. Not surprising. We figured that 3 might be the number there. It's Tonjes winning out over Willis. Dominic Pooney might not be ready to go week 1, which could be one of the reasons why the 49ers carried 10 offensive linemen. But the main reason I see is that if Spencer Burford can't be a swing tackle, if he's only backing up left tackle, then you need a dedicated backup right tackle. So they don't have a swing tackle. They had to use 2 spots on tackles between Burford and Pleasance, behind Williams and McKivitz. Colby is obviously your draft pick, who is the backup guard who might be in line to start instead of Dominic Pooney. If Pooney's not ready to go week 1, you needed a backup center with Matt Hennessy, and Drew Moss forced his way onto this football team. Defensive line, Bosa, Elliott, Kalia Davis, Michael Williams, Bryce Huff, Evan Anderson, CJ West, Yetur Gross-Matos, activated from PUP, Robert Beal Jr., predicted that he'd make the team after his game on Sunday, Alfred Collins and Sam Okawanu. They've gone really heavy on both lines. They've gone 11 defensive linemen, 10 offensive linemen, 21 trench players on the 53-man roster. That is the most ever the 49ers have ever carried on the initial 53. 21, 10 offensive line. The normal number is 8, 11 defensive line. The normal number is 9 or 10. So that is significant about this roster. Linebacker, they've carried 5. And then in the secondary, first cornerback, they carry 6, which is the usual number. Chase Lucas indeed forced his way onto the football team. Upton Stout, Renardo Green, Lenore, Saran Neal, and Darrell Luter Jr. And 4 safeties for now. And we can move Marquise Siegel into a starting spot for the 49ers right there. Siegel starting next to Pinnock. Brown and Grant are the 49ers' 2 backups. Now, of course, they have 1 extra spot here because they don't have a punter right now, but Thomas Morstead is going to be back with this team tomorrow. And there are going to be more moves happening tomorrow. So the 49ers, for example, they only have 2 healthy wide receivers right now, Ricky Pearsall and Sky Moore. They have a whole waiver wire to scour. There are a lot of transactions still to happen. This is just the initial look at the 53. They've loaded up on offensive and defensive line. Drew Moss has made the football team. 21 O linemen and D linemen. Record crowd on this stream. Thanks to everybody for joining. We're going to be online soon talking some more 49ers football.